We're going to talk Ravens and Bengals first. This was a game that kind of looked like it was going to get away from the Ravens. This is a team that a lot of people peg as one of the best and a Super Bowl contender, but they sometimes can't get out of their own way, guys. And last night it seemed like it was going to be that way, down 21-7. And then my guy, Chase Brown, put the football on the turf, and everything changed from there. Where were you guys at in that game at that point at 21-7? Did you just think that the Bengals were going to win?
I was asleep because I didn't see it. But I'll refer to the people that did watch it.
No, I watched it, and, Thursday night's like my only day off during the week, so I really look forward to Thursday night football. And I thought it was a great game. But what I took out of it, I am no longer worried about the Ravens. It was one of the teams I was like, oh, man, if the Lions do make the Super Bowl, that's one of the teams that I'm going to be scared of moving forward. I'm no longer scared of the Ravens. I'm like Kevin in Home Alone. I'm not scared anymore.
That's right.
I'm not scared anymore.
I think it's more so their defense, though. I mean, Lamar Jackson, he's MVP candidate. You kind of have to be scared of Lamar Jackson. But if you look at their defense, they have underperformed a lot this year. And to be honest, that probably might be the Achilles heel of what brings the Ravens down in the postseason if they don't get their act together.
And Kyle Hamilton got hurt last night. We'll see how serious that is. But they're an opportunistic defense. They're a playmaking defense. But what I've seen out of this team is that they can either play the best football in the NFL or they can't get out of their own way.
That's a fact.
Absolutely. So, two quarterbacks. These are two of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. A lot of people were wondering who Joe Burrow was going to be this season, and this guy has been one of the best.
Yeah.
Did you guys kind of write this guy off at any point, or?
It's just when you get into these 0-2, 0-3, and this year 0-4 holes, you can't really expect you to keep climbing out of that. I mean, it's cute on the surface, and somehow Cincinnati seems to find a way each time to do it, but it's not sustainable, man. And you look at their remaining schedule, they got to play Pittsburgh twice. They got some teams in there, one against the Chargers. That's a sneaky game as well. I don't know, man, because if they get another loss, I don't know if that keeps them eventually out of the playoffs. But if they're able to win out, which, by all accounts, it seems like Cincinnati has the ability to do so, watch out, man. But I don't see it. Their defense is weak. Their offensive line continues to be a problem. I don't know why you haven't protected Joe Burrow in all these years, but I just don't think it's sustainable.
You got to remember back to that draft day, they had a choice. They could have had Penei Sewell.
There you go.
They went Jamar Chase. Like, it's tough to argue Jamar Chase, right?
It is.
Especially
but we
after
always
last
talk
night.
about what's wrong with Joe Burrow. What's wrong with Joe Burrow? Oh, they can't protect Joe Burrow.
Exactly.
I don't think you need Jamar Chase if you could block for him with Penei Sewell. So I'm just happy that the Bengals bungled that draft. We got pretty much a guaranteed Hall of Famer, probably one of the best, if not the best player in football. I saw Neil and Sean arguing if he's the best Lion, period, of all time that he could be. So
he's on the road.
So we got to thank the Bengals for passing on Penei Sewell and letting us draft him, because that's where it lies all their problems. And I believe I remember seeing like a meme that was like, Joe Burrow with Penei Sewell, and it showed him throwing the ball to T. Higgins, and it said Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase, and had Joe Burrow getting sacked. And that's exactly what happens. I mean, that's why you just got to love the way these Lions have built the team, because they got to their Super Bowl, but that was a peak for them.
Yeah.
We're on our way to a Super Bowl, and it feels like we're just getting started.
Well, and the focus has always been on the trenches for Dan and Brad, and that's where we found all of our success and hung our hat. I got a question for you, Stick. I know that you've been a Burrow fan. Considering
Except those frosted tips.
Sure. So considering what he went through last year, considering the way that the team is playing, I'm assuming that they're going to miss the playoffs at this point. Does this jeopardize Joe's future in Cincinnati at all?
No. God, no. No. You see in the
He's
NFL,
their best hope.
If you can have a quarterback like Joe Burrow, you keep a quarterback like Joe Burrow. They're just mismanaging him.
Yeah.
Because let's play the game. You put Joe Burrow on the Vikings. I don't want to face the Vikings.
With Jamar,
The reason why I clown the Vikings is Sam Darnold. Like, I know you're never gonna win with Sam Darnold. If they had Joe Burrow, completely different story. He would elevate probably 70% of the teams in the NFL, except the Lions, because we have Jared Goff.
And he did take on the Ravens last night without his number 2 wide receiver in T. Higgins. I'm sure that he was missed, but I'm sure that Mr. Jamar Chase was not upset about T not being there because this is one of the all-time greatest wide receiver lines we've ever seen in NFL history.
Yeah.
11 catches, 264 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Now, I was talking to one of our guys in our league, and he was at halftime. Chase didn't have much. He's like, I'll take it. I wish I had that recorded, man.
No, that is crazy. A stat line like that. It kind of reminds me of last year's Lions where we was giving up 200 games to everybody, but 264, that's crazy. And like we talk about, they haven't got an offensive lineman, but the connection between Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, literally, that is what keeps this team afloat. That's what keeps the lights on. And, I mean, they kind of deserve to be together, but if they don't get that offensive line corrected or that defense situated, they're going to have some problems. And they are wasting Joe Burrow away. Make no mistake about it.
Yeah, I loved Jamar Chase last night. Have you ever seen a more cocky touchdown? Like, you've seen Tate, when we had Tate doing backflips into the end zone, Golden Tate. You've seen guys kind of strut. You've seen Dion.
Ray Crockett, remember?
Yeah, you've seen all, but have you ever seen a guy walk the entire goal line just backwards, like looking at people? I mean, how could you, if this was baseball, he would have been getting a fastball right in the ear hole next time he was up to bat.
Big fact.
But in football, like, you can't stop that man. He's unstoppable.
Yeah.
And like I said, they should have drafted Penei Sewell, but you can't be mad at him for drafting Jamar Chase.
Yeah. Shout out to the chat. Smash that like button when you get a moment. But I do want to ask everybody in the chat, which of you woke up today down 50 points in your fantasy league?
I can't imagine.
To the point where you might not even watch football this week because you already know it's over. I want to hear from the chat.
Yeah, I had 39 points put on me. He had Joe Burrow and Flowers last night.
I'm about to look up how much you dropped in my league.
I had Derrick Henry, but nobody cares about our fantasy teams. No,
people care.
No, they don't. Let's do that. I'll put that in the chat. Chat, do you care about other men's fantasy football teams?
We literally do one involved with the chat on the Woo Crew.
Because they're involved. See the difference?
Yeah, well, that's true. I guess.
I got to adjust our cameras.
I see, me and him have been battling for 4.5 years on whether people want to talk fantasy or not, because you guys all know
People want to talk their fantasy.
Well, sure.
They don't care about yours. That's what I'm saying.
This is true. I did get some input on that trade that you put out there for everybody, but listen, we've got a huge matchup Sunday night. If you guys haven't already heard, we got a serious party in Shelby Township at Hayes Social. We're going to be doing the pregame show there, as well as the watch party with the heavyweights, and of course the postgame show with my man Stick and myself. But we are talking about two immovable forces meeting. A team that is undefeated on the road in our very own Detroit Lions, as well as a team that is undefeated at home in the new look Houston Texans. Sorry, man. I always mess up all those Texas teams. But listen, we've been circling this game on the schedule since before the season started. A lot of people have been afraid of C.J. Stroud and what he was going to be in his second year. He has certainly taken a step back. Yeah. A lot of that has to do with losing his number one wide receiver in Nico Collins, and then even going further on and losing their newly acquired top-end wide receiver in Mr. Diggs. Yeah. So they should be getting Nico Collins back. I'm curious where you guys sit on this before we get into all the interviews with our guys, Brad and Dan and everybody else on the team.
Well, this matchup ain't what it was when we were drawing up, wins and losses at the beginning of the year. Now that we're actually in Week 10 and you see what the Texans are, it's a very winnable game for the Lions, man. And the Lions, they're playing their best ball right now. It seems like they're getting healthy at the right time. And for Houston, I mean, C.J. Stroud, we know the type of talent that this guy has. I think he's next up, in terms of years to come. But as of this year, I mean, more teams have tape on him. That's definitely a reason why. But you got to point at the offensive line, man. The offensive line has not been good for this Texans team. And we talked to DJ Bieniemy, who is the Houston Texans ESPN reporter. Shout out to him. We talked to him yesterday, and he said the interior of their offensive line is trash. Like, a lot of teams have been able to exploit that. They have some problems in their secondary, particularly their safety room. So you look at all those weaknesses, and those are areas where the Lions thrive. So I think the Lions have a very good chance to come in there and get a win. Of course, they got to play their best ball. Jared Goff needs to stay clean, and the running game has to work. But if they can get all that going, I mean, who are we scared of at this point?
Yeah, Brian Babe Ruth in the chat here talking about Houston about to be Ford Field South Sunday night.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people going down there.
Yeah?
I mean, I know people that are organizing parties down there and like club nights and stuff. It's so fun to watch how this team has evolved, and the fans are just so proud of it now. They'll travel to other cities. And the way I tell people are like, well, I thought Detroit was broke. How are they going? I'm like, listen, they haven't spent money in 60 years on football. So even if they save like $10 a year, they're plus 600 right now.
That's a fact.
Well, and I'm actually reading some things about the prices of Super Bowl tickets are in a different category right now, and they attribute it to Lions fans buying tickets in preparation of being there. Have you guys in your lifetime ever heard of Detroit money increasing national prices?
I haven't.
No.
Shout out NRG,
Just
man.
Detroit money, period.
Yeah.
Like, Detroit money is just kind of strange.
Well, and speaking of money, the line is 3.5. The Texans are getting 3.5 points. So that pretty much puts the Lions right at or slightly above a touchdown favorite. Yeah. Again, on the road, team that's undefeated, but you're undefeated yourself when you go on the road, and they are going to have a whole hell of a lot of Honolulu Blue in that stadium. I'm curious, have either of you guys been to Houston before?
No.
I flew through it once.
Okay.
I took this really weird way to Vegas. You know, sometimes you get for the cheap flight and it reroutes
Save
you.
$60.
Yeah, it was the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life, and I'll never do it again.
This was not worth $60.
No, it was like Detroit to New Orleans to Denver to Houston to Vegas.
Oh,
It was
jeez.
like 18 hours of flying. And
Hopefully that was only $18,
and I
man.
was, it was very cheap.
horrible.
It was
All the layovers, that
it was a
sounds
a long
corporate
day.
flight, so I didn't pay for it. But at the same time, like I had much better things to do with my time than spend it all damn day boarding, back on, off board,
right.
like
Yeah,
you know.